for the delay in reaching here. The 27 gauge is the smallest keyhole vitreous surgery possible in the body, rather a keyhole surgery. But whether it's superior or not, I think each individual surgeon has to decide. The reason I thought, the wound closure is excellent with the 27 gauge. That's the main reason I took up 27 gauge. And this was introduced by Professor Yasutano in the 7th Euretina Congress in 2007. He got the award for his innovation. And when he introduced, he made it as a non-vitrectomized vitreous surgery. That means he used a 27 gauge illumination, no infusion, but just use a 27 gauge forceps and remove the epiretinal membrane and come out. Somehow, without a vitrectomy, doing an ERM removal, his idea was that the vitreous was not disturbed, you will not develop cataract. But definitely it develops PVD and then floaters, and maybe because of PVD also you can have problem. But he published it in along with Dr. Oshima. So in 2002, Fiji and Dijuan introduced the 25 gauge 3-port pars-plana vitrectomy, and in 2005, Klaas Eckert introduced 23 gauge because he felt 25 was flimsy and thinner instrument. In 2004, myself and Dr. Mark Humayun introduced the first small incision, micro incision vitreous surgery, 25 gauge vitrectomy for the first time in India. And Mark Humayun is being honored for his innovation in Argus 2 by Barack Obama in April. The 27 gauge was a 3-port vitrectomy, was first introduced by associate of Yasutano, that's Yusuke Oshima, where he also, along with Dr. Yasutano and Sakaguchi, published their experience performing 27 gauge non-vitrectomy for epiretinal membrane. So it was introduced as a non-vitrectomy, that's called as NVS, and later in 2010 he published it in ophthalmology, his 27 gauge, and that's Yusuke Oshima, who is the pioneer of doing the 3-port pars-plana vitrectomy using the 27 gauge, and also bimanual using the chandelier illumination. The advantage is very obvious. It is less conjunctival trauma, less scleral trauma, less astigmatism, less inflammation, less post-operative discomfort, and early visual recovery. It's common to 25 also, and even 23. In case you don't get a subconjunctival hemorrhage because of any of the conjunctival vessel getting injured, I think still it will be next day the eye will look white and you don't know whether you have done the surgery. It looks so good, and every time I give myself compliment to in front of the patient, telling, "Oh, I can't make out which eye I have operated." These are the things which I learned from Americans, where you have to be proud of your own skills and your achievements, so that the patient also appreciates it. Otherwise, sometimes even jokingly I tell them, you don't feel that you have undergone a surgery, but you paid for it. And the smaller wounds are more likely to self-seal and prevent hypertonic. And that's the reason I have taken up 27 gauge. And they are less prone to vitreous prolapse, which may act as a wick and promote endophthalmitis. And these benefits, on the other hand, must be weighed against the drawbacks of the increased instrument flexibility. That's the limitation. And limited aspiration capacity, even though the duty cycle, everything is there, but still the drawback is the lumen is small. So because of that, the volume coming will be lesser. So even for a vitreous hemorrhage or a PVD in a macular hole induction, it takes little more time than the 25 or the 23. So, but if you have to persistent and perseverant, I think you can master that. And the reason is, again, the wound, size of the wound. But for a foreign body, you have to enlarge the wound. So it doesn't make sense to use the 27 gauge. One, because the costing also, the 27 gauge cassette is more expensive than the 25 and 23. So there are recent advances, because when the 25 came and it went somewhere, it went behind, because Klaas Eckert proved by hanging a weight on the tip of the cutter and said this bends and 23 doesn't bend, and 23 is almost same like 20, because people are used to a bigger and heavier instrument. And later, that's what 25 also came as a 25 plus, where they made the instrument stiff. Same thing is now available in 27 plus. That is a stiffer instrument, wide angle weaving system, wide angle, these are the other If you have read the Vitreous surgery book, the silicon oil in vitreous retinal surgery by Jovanovich, in the preface he have written that the vitreous surgery did not develop for long. One, it is difficult to access. Second, it is dark and the place is small. And that's true, but now we have conquered it by wide-angle observation system. And I remember in 90s when I used to speak about wide-angle observation in US, they all used to say, oh no, because whatever they did, they felt that was the best, but they didn't realize just because Mark Spitzen has introduced the first biome in 87, and in 89 I started using it. In the beginning I also thought it was such a bulky one, but I think all this makes a difference now. Now we have various companies doing various models of wide-angle viewing, wide-angle illuminating light pipe, using various light sources, and chandelier endo-illuminating optic fibers. So it's a self-sealing sclerotomy. They recommend that you can also use a 27 vertical insertion trocar cannula instead of the two-step angle. But I tried both, but I like still the angle. The only thing is, if the angle, when you put the trocar, it will bend towards one side, and I think you have to learn to introduce the instruments in the long axis of the trocar cannula. The reason is if you bend, it may not enter, and then if you move too much, the instrument can get bent. And 27 cutter, the other advantage is the 27 cutter, the opening is closer to the tip than the 25 and 27, and it is slim, and because of the slim, it actually goes between membranes. And wide angle fundus viewing makes it easy to carry out bimanual dissection with a 27 gauge system. So initially they again had a limited indication like the 25 gauge, mainly for macular hole, macular pucker, vitreomacular traction, vitreous hemorrhage, focal traction retinal detachment, macular edema, persistent pseudophakic CME, and all the simpler things where you only need a vitrectomy and then do it. But now I am exploring that it can be used for any condition, even including injecting oil. This is a 27 gauge chandelier illumination, again introduced by Sakaguchi and Dr. Yasutano. So you can see this is a panoramic view which you get with the endowment. But unfortunately, every instrument you add a cost to your armamentarium and for the patient. And this is a panoramic fundus view under 27 gauge chandelier illumination. Sufficient illumination and wide angle view of the fundus are obtained without reflecting glare into the surgeon's eyes. You can see almost extreme periphery you can see with the mercury vapor lamp. And again, the instruments for apparetal membrane removal, the shaft of the microforceps about 0.40 millimeter in diameter is rigid and thin enough for intraocular manipulation, and the shape of the grasping end is asymmetric, and the distance between the two tips is 750 microns. When open, grasped, tough and thick proliferative apparetal tissue can be grasped. And there was an interesting concept presented by David Chow from Canada in the recently held whale vitrectomy meeting, which is started by McNamara, where even the grip, he says we can make using a mold and then make a 3D technology where you can do it in your own, and each surgeon's grasp you can change depending on the instrument or forceps you like the way you hold. It's like holding a pen, so each one holds a pen, and this he says you can mold it. And again in the recent advances, the vitrectomy can go up to 7,500 cuts per minute, and faster cut rates allow for safer peripheral vitreous dissection with less likelihood of creating a peripheral retinal tear. And this is you need everything, cutter, infusion, and the endo illuminator, forceps, everything. And this is a chandelier illumination, and then you can see the comparison, the 20 gauge with the 27 gauge. And this is a recurrent retinal detachment with PVR, where the first surgery already a silicone oil injection done, then later silicone oil removal with the endolaser with the fluid array exchange, and came with hyperoleon, and then he underwent silicone oil removal with a FG with a C3F8, diagnosed as post-silicone oil removal, recurrent retinal detachment with the macula off, and then we planned for a re-vitrectomy and then injecting oil. And this is a 27 plus where 27 infusion line is placed. Using the 30 gauge needle, the droplets from the anterior chamber was removed, and you can see small droplets still circulating around, and then you are doing a membrane peeling, removing the PVR tissue and mobilizing the retina, and then